Alright, so we should finally be good now. Holy crap. I will just go ahead and exit out of that. Put that up. Go back to OBS, and I will also drag OBS over to this window, just in case there's anybody in the YouTube chat. Alright, here we go. So, we're playing Minecraft and discussing where'd all my worlds go? There. What? 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 Okay, that's weird. I don't know where all my worlds went. I'm on the right version of Minecraft. Yeah, I'm on the right version. Alright. And to create new world then. This is gonna be... Any good suggestions for names here? I might just name it something awesome like Gartha. That'll be great. Yo, what's up? I'm reading off of my secondary monitor right here. It's kind of hard because the secondary monitor is a CRT, so it's like everything's like low-key kind of blurry. I can drag. Hold on, I'm gonna drag this over if I can. Yeah, yeah, we got Nestor, we got Pizza Boat, we got Luke Birch, epic. All right, we're gonna learn some stuff about muscle today. Should we go hardcore? I don't know. Don't know. Don't know if I have the strength for a hardcore run. But let's see. We're just gonna create world. Gonna create world and see what comes of it. We're playing on the GameCube controller. All right, it's crucial. All real gamers use GameCube controllers. I got to thinking today. I was like, I really want to make a video where I am yapping about. We spawned in a what is this, savanna biome with the acacia trees. I need to adjust my settings, adjust my field of view. That is like way too close up. Where's the visuals? FOV. Yeah, I need to turn my FOV up just a touch. Yeah. All right. CRT. Yeah. What does this say? CRT. I can't read that. We gotta drag it over. Yeah, CRT mog. It does mog, except for situations like this. It's not like super excellent as a secondary monitor. But it's like super. It's really super fun sometimes. So basically, I was thinking about today. I was like, it would be amazing to break down some biomechanics when it comes to stiff-legged deadlifts in particular, because I was thinking about them today. I recorded some footage of me doing a stiff-legged deadlift, and I feel like it's a lift that a lot of people really struggle on because, you know, they wind up doing some like RDL type stuff. And sorry, I'm just adjusting my sensitivity. It's just a little bit. It's a little bit not sensitive enough. Yeah, we need to jack that up considerably. Um, but people, they either butcher the movement or it's just a movement they cannot get right for whatever reason. And I was gonna walk you guys through some of the stuff I do to make stiff-legged deadlifts feel a lot better. So the first thing you have to understand is what kind of build you're working with, right? Generally speaking, if you're a longer femored individual like myself, you're gonna find hinges a lot easier than stuff like squatting. That's just basic biomechanics right there. If you have a longer femur, it's relative to your shin bone, that is, it's a lot harder to allow the knee to go forward in a squat. But conversely, that tends to mean you can hinge at the hips really well. Um, but even then, sometimes you can have a person with longer femurs, particularly women, because they have wider pelvises. They tend to struggle with just the overall movement of a stiff-legged deadlift or an RDL. So the very first thing I'll start out saying is inside foot pressure is pretty key when it comes to actually, you know, doing a good stiff-legged deadlift. So what I mean by that is if you imagine, you know, the bottom of your foot, you know, you have the ball of your foot and you have the inside of your heel, that needs to be pressed firmly against the ground. Too often I see people lifting up the inside of their feet on RDLs. They almost try and do the same thing as a squat, where like they're screwing their feet into the ground. And that could be a good cue sometimes, but not all the times. Not all the times. So that's the first thing I want to make clear is that inside foot pressure really does help a lot. What that actually cues is for you to internally rotate your femurs a little bit. And you'll notice that's a bit of a theme with some of this stuff. Oh, I see a little cherry blossom biome over there. It's cool. Need to get out of the savannah though. Frame rate is lagging with OBS. I never lag on Minecraft, but I guess since we're streaming, it's pretty. I might want to turn down my render distance just so I'm not like making things chug. Let's see if I can. Brightness, frame rate limit, 60, anti-aliasing. I don't even know what that is. Render distance, whatever. Uh, we'll just deal with it. But yeah, so was it inside foot pressure is a pretty common theme you'll see in a lot of hinge patterns, and it's necessary. It keeps that internal rotation of the femur, which I find helps me keep my back healthy and my back intact. If you're constantly moving in external rotation, what you're going to find is that you just get overuse injuries, and it's a lot harder for you. Where are these plants? This has to be new. What is this? Firefly bush? What? If you're constantly in that external rotation, what you're going to find is just overuse injuries, and you're going to be stuck in like this extended position at the pelvis. And that's not a terrible position to be in. In fact, we want that position when we are, oh, like that mountain biome over there. But we want that position when we are doing something like a stiff-legged deadlift because it's going to provide more stretch on your hamstrings, right? But that being said, there's efficient ways to get into that position. So y'all know the thing about like anterior pelvic tilt, where it's like the top of your pelvis is tilting forward. You know, you're dumping the cup forward. It's not a bad thing. You know, it's been really demonized in the past, but it is a movement. It's a tool. So you got to know how to move into that range comfortably, and that's very important. So again, starting with that inside foot pressure is going to help you internally rotate your femurs. Now, on top of that, you actually want to start with your tailbone tucked. You want to posteriorly tilt your pelvis, like clench the bottom of your butt, almost like you're trying to give yourself a toad butt. And I might post a video about that later on so you guys can see a little bit more clearly. But you almost want to have like a little toad butt when you are doing it at the top. Why would you do that? Well, if you're starting in posterior pelvic tilt, that gives you room to move into anterior pelvic tilt, right? If you're starting in anterior pelvic tilt, sometimes, not all the times, it really depends on your build, but sometimes you can kind of get caught up and it makes it harder to get a full range of motion, get that stretch in there, right? The key thing here is that you're not allowing your back to be compromised throughout this process. So, of course, stuff like breathing and bracing, which if you're not familiar with breathing and bracing, it's essentially just take a deep breath in and flex your abs like someone's about to punch you in the stomach, and there's your brace. There's a lot that can be said about bracing. I might go off on that tangent later, but you know, you can brace from multiple positions. It's a little bit harder to brace from an anteriorly tilted position with your pelvis because you're so extended like this. So a little bit more posterior pelvic tilt. You can, yeah, toad butt. Yeah, toad butt. So like, imagine you're trying to like, you know, tuck your butt, tuck your tailbone underneath you. So if you flex your abs, notice what your pelvis does, right? So you can, if I get up right here, maybe you can see, but you like flex like that. You're trying to clench the bottom of your butt cheeks to have more of a toad butt at the top. And again, that just helps you brace your core a little bit better. When you're bracing that, the harder you brace your core, the stiffer your spine is, the less injury risk you have when it comes to actually, you know, doing the stiff-legged deadlift. But if you start in that position, but then as you go down, you're going to gradually move into anterior pelvic tilt. And in my experience, that's a lot safer. I get a lot less back pain out of doing that. It also just allows, you know how there's this term called scapulohumeral rhythm, which means that your humerus and your scapula have a rhythm that they move in when you move your arms up and down. And your pelvis and your femur have a very similar thing, right? So it's okay to move your pelvis back and forth and allow your lower back and your core to do their real jobs. You don't have to keep them perfectly stiff the entire time. And this movement is not super exaggerated either. This tilting of the pelvis, it's just a little bit, right? But you'll find that you're able to keep yourself in a much more healthy position. So you're starting off with an inside foot pressure to cue some internal rotation of the femurs, and then you're like at the top, you pick it up, toad butt. As you descend, well, even before that, let me not get ahead of myself. When you're gripping the bar, the other thing you want to do is get your back mad tight. Your back has to be so tight. You will feel a palpable difference because every once in a while, I even forget this myself. You have to get that back so tight. The tighter you can get that back, the better. And what do I actually mean by that? Of course, pulling the slack out of the bar. You can retract your scapula if you want to, but essentially you just want to make sure that there's no give in the bar before you pull. That's more of a powerlifting conversation, but if you're already doing a stiff legged deadlift or an RDL, you're more than likely going to have the slack pulled out of the bar. But what I mean is bend it into a frowny face so you can activate those lats and get them tight. Basically, if every muscle in your back is tight, what that's going to feel like is you're making this upper body as stiff as a board so that your lower body can actually do the work. This takes a lot of practice, and you'll be surprised. Like I said, I forget it every once in a while to like actually cue myself to get my back ultra tight. But then I'll have a day where it's like, oh, I really do a good job of getting my back tight. I'm like, wow, that made like a rep or two of difference right there, which is pretty significant as far as what I do. So make sure you do that. So you bend that bar into a frowny face, all right, and then you breathe and brace. You pick it up. You got your toad butt. You got your inside foot pressure. Now the descent. In the descent of a stiff-legged deadlift, right? We're trying to keep. Some people think you need to keep your knees fully locked out. I personally keep my knees pretty much fully locked out. I feel fine with it. It doesn't really tweak anything for me. Like I said, I have longer femurs. My hamstring mobility is good. But you can keep your knees slightly bent with the caveat of they don't continue to bend more as you go down, right? Because if you do that, you just turn it into an RDL, which is fine, but it's a different exercise. The difference between an RDL and a stiff-legged deadlift is just essentially, is the knee bend increasing as you go down to the floor? If it's not, you're keeping your legs stiff, it's a stiff-legged deadlift. That's going to recruit more hamstrings and a little bit more adductor magnus compared to an RDL, which will have a lot more glute involvement comparatively. Oh, I'm quiet. I'm quiet. Let me turn my mic up then. Hey, thanks for letting me know that. My bad, Jit. Again, it's my first time using OBS. I'm not super experienced with it. Let me go. Not desktop audio. Let me turn myself up. Is that a little bit better? Let me see. Yeah, is that a little bit better? Milam IG2299. Am I a little bit louder now? Do you need to go up more? Lol. Hopefully I'll turn that up a little bit. I'll move my mic a little bit closer as well into the yellow right here. Boop. Okay. Went down a rabbit trail there for a second. Move this back. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Boop. Resume. But yeah. So as I was saying, what was it? Get your back tight and pull that bar close to you. And if you have a really strong upper back, this is another conversation we need to have here about rib cage types. So you can think of rib cage types as two types. Oh, it's just your phone. Oh, yeah, no worries, no worries. It was probably my end as well. Oh, was it being said? Sorry. So I'm deaf louder. Okay, cool. Thanks. I was just making sure. um, but yeah, so rib cage types do play a role. So ideally on a stiff-legged deadlift, we want our hamstrings to be limiting the. I need to build shelter. It's getting nighttime. But ideally we want. I'm not gonna be able to sleep through the night. I was busy screwing around getting wood and not killing sheep. Darn. But you can think of them as wide and narrow ISAs. What's an ISA? It's an infrasternal angle. So like your rib cage right here, what angle is this making? Dang, we're gonna have to just tough it out tonight, aren't we? Make a crafting table. And we'll make a little crappy hut to start off with. Actually, you know what? I think we're gonna go underground. We're gonna go underground, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and get to mining. But narrow ISAs, they just have a narrower angle on that ribcage part. Ah, oh, dang. Dang, it's so dark. I did not think this through. Crap, dude. Man, this sucks. I always hate. I got ahead. New here. I unironically love the the Minecraft. Something Minecraft. Oh God. Oh no, 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 I can't die. Come on. Oh my God, dude. That's lame. That was lame. I'm getting unk. This is how I can tell I'm becoming unk. Is just because like basic freaking video games are now giving me a hard time. Dog, that was lame. I'm glad to have you though. But yeah, okay. I guess I'll just get back on my rant about wide. Okay, so wide ISAs have a wide angle. I'm a little bit on the wider side. It's a spectrum. It's not necessarily what he's on a horse. Oh God, is that a spear in his hand, dude? What have they done to this game since last I played it? I think I see a village in the distance. I'm just gonna hot foot it for that village. I think that's my only option. And run away from this zombie horse guy. What is that, dude? That's so insane. I'm really becoming unk. Um, so what are these guys? Okay, zombie villagers. Okay. Um, dang, it looks so different than when I last played it. I didn't play it that long ago. I feel like it's just been a couple months. Um, so that wide angle means you're kind of better at you're in this propulsive stance, generally speaking. And when you're doing something like a stiff-legged deadlift, it means that your upper back tends to not be a limiting factor. Your rib cage as a whole is a little bit wider, meaning that it can hold more distributed forces across it a little bit better. If you got a narrower ISA, you got that narrow rib cage. Ladies tend to have a narrower rib cage, but there's plenty of men that do. Hey, if your lats show really well from the front, you probably have a narrow ISA. And your upper back is probably a little bit more rounded, and you struggle a little bit more to keep that upper back intact when you're doing your stiff-legged deadlifts, or any deadlift variation for that matter. So that needs to be taken into consideration, because as the upper back begins to break down, the barbell gets a little bit closer to the floor. Yeah, skeleton, he's going to snipe my butt. But the barbell will begin to get closer to the floor. But it also gets a little bit closer to your body. Your body kind of folds in on itself just a little bit. But that changes the biomechanics of things. Yeah, that's new Minecraft. Yeah, 50 updates. Yep, you're 100% right. It's very different. I'm so unk. I'm low-key a little bit of an OG when it comes to Minecraft. Played that junk so much when I was a kid. But as that back rounds, you're gonna find that the rest of the posterior chain begins to break down. Okay, there are a lot of dudes, like really good power lifters, that do so many enemies. A lot of power lifters that have a rounded upper back on their deadlift, and it's perfectly fine. It's a strategy that they use because they can still get their back tight and deadlift really well that way. It's just a different thing. I'm more so talking in terms of bodybuilding, right? How do we get the most out of our hamstrings? You can still get a lot out of your. It's just not something I'm gonna recommend for general population rounding the upper back. That's something general population tends to have a bit more of a kyphotic, curved spine, excessive kyphosis, anyways. So I just wouldn't, be a huge proponent of that off the bat. Ideally, I would like to, see that upper back be retracted and stay pretty straight. So, oh, no shot, no shot. Dude, are we serious? God, I was so close to the village. That is beyond stupid. Death number 2. There should be a punishment for freaking deaths, bro. Dang it, man. That's so annoying. Uh, but I'm gonna make it to that daggum village. You just wait and see. But yeah, so with that rounded upper back, it's not the best thing. but it's also not the worst. It's a skill you can develop. If you're interested in powerlifting and all that sort of thing, it's a technique you can learn to do properly. Same thing still applies. You got to bend that bar into a frowny face and get your back tight. As you descend on a stiff-legged deadlift, don't think about it so much as you're bending over, as you are trying to stick your tailbone into the top back corner of the wall. So imagine the wall behind you, and you want to touch your butt to that wall. There's jack-o'-lanterns. You want to try and touch your butt to that wall, but also keep it high, like you're trying to touch the ceiling, where the back wall and the ceiling meet. That corner, that's where you want to be trying to think like you're touching your butt, even though you're not, right? That's how you should think about it. Not so much bending over, but kind of sticking your butt out and up. Here we go. Made it to a village. Thank the Lord. Maybe I can find a bed and sleep in it. It's one of those acacia villages. Probably grab some of these carrots. Let's go. But yeah, I think that's a mistake a lot of people make, is they think, oh, I have to, I'm bending over. A lot of times when people just straight up bend over, they are, rounding their lower back. And that's typically what we want to... Man, come on, zombie. Gotta box me in here. I mean, I think technically I could maybe make a bed with those 2 brown sheep. Gonna beat this guy with my fist. But that lower back, when you have a lot of flexion and extension in the lower back that is not deliberate, that's where you're going to find a lot of lower back pain on really any deadlift variation, but particularly stiff-legged deadlifts. Because with RDLs and, with RDLs and regular deadlifts, what you'll often find is that bad like pelvis movement can be masked by... there's monsters nearby, whatever. It can be masked by you bending at the knees, right? Because you're not getting that big stretch on your hamstrings and all that. You can mask it. So consider that. That's a really big thing to think. A lot of people injure themselves on stiff-legged deadlifts. They want to do stiff-legged deadlifts. They want to get the hamstrings, but they don't consider that their present RDL or deadlift technique is masking bad pelvis mechanics. So you relax, being able to not relax that back as you move down and keeping it tight as you move from, posterior pelvic tilt into anterior pelvic tilt coming down. When you go down, you don't necessarily have to touch the floor. About mid-shin is totally fine. Again, it's all arbitrary. You could work to do deficit stiff-legged deadlifts with good technique, provided, you're bracing and properly and all that. Dang, these guys are following me. They won't let me sleep in a bed and just pass day. I will take this torch. I think this torch will be useful. But, so you go down, you get a stretch, right? You keep that brace. When you come back up, you have to do the same thing over again. And that's what kind of becomes difficult about stiff-legged deadlifts, is re-bracing. When you get back up to the top, you have to tuck your tailbone back underneath. You got to do the toad butt thing again, so that your core's engaged and you can move back into that space healthily, right? It's also just a good reset for that brace. By tucking your pelvis, you're able to better engage your abs. Because what's also happening, if you didn't realize, is if you start out with a tucked pelvis and you're bracing, breathe and brace, as you go down and you extend the pelvis, what's actually happening is your abdominals are lengthening as well. They're kind of lengthening slightly faster than they're shortening most of the time. So you do kind of lose a little bit of your brace down there at the bottom. So you need to be aware of that. That's why it's such a vulnerable position. Guess I gotta get in the sun. Oh no, he can set me on fire? What? Yeah, we're safe now. We're safe now. Yeah, here we go. I guess I gotta go freaking collect more wood again. That sucks. I don't want no stupid acacia wood either. Oh, the cows look different. That's awesome. What if I can make it to that mountain? Get a little base going or something like that. Maybe. Was that, how long do you do the eccentric of the RDL? That's a great question, actually. Um, and I would say just whatever you do, keep it standard. So, back in the day, I used to do a whole like, all right, let's count, one 1,000, two 1,000, three 1,000, and I was very neurotic about that. And then there have been times where like I did not count it at all. Like I was just, boom, down, go. All right, you're just, doesn't matter. But what I would say is probably a healthy medium is whatever speed allows you to maintain your brace the best. That is the speed I would default to, and I would keep it standard. And I would really kind of judge that by distance. You can count in your head if that helps, but you'll get a feel for it. And then of course the way up should be as explosive as possible, as fast as possible, uh, provided you're not just slinging the weight some weird way and it's causing you to do something stupid. But that's how we can control the eccentric. That eccentric is where if an injury is gonna happen, it's gonna happen there. It tends to be, and most of the time, like reversing right out of the eccentric. So like as soon as you're like, all right, let's go up, that's where your lower back will give way. So again, with dudes with longer femurs, this is an excellent tip I can give you. Because when I was a young whippersnapper and I was playing football and such, I used to always injure my low back, and it was specifically, well, I know this now. It's my quadratus lumborum. Whoa, long word, but it's like this little muscle that it's a quad. It's like shaped kind of like a parallelogram, and it's right between your spine and your butt cheek. And so if you ever hurt your back, and you're like, man, like I hurt my back. It's like it's like at the top of my butt. Um, like right there where your spine is top of your butt. That's your QL. QL raises are so excellent for rehabbing that. So essentially, you'll get on like a hyperextension machine, and you'll sit in it sideways, and it kind of looks like an oblique crunch. What the heck is that over there? It kind of looks like an oblique crunch, except you are trying to contract more so with that QL, which is right there. It's like low oblique right above the butt. Like you'll feel it. What even is this? What? Is this like a geyser? Will this hurt me? Yo, this is sick. Neato. Cool. Wow, it's like a brand new game, honestly, for the most part. But yeah, those QL raises are a lifesaver. They will keep you feeling fresh and dandy. You don't have to do them super heavy, but like just enough to where you can, what's the word? Like that. Oh, you can make spears now? Yo. Yo. Dude, this game's crazy. So much different. I'm gonna say that like 50 times. I need to shut up. But it's like wow, it's a completely different game every time. But those QL raises are a lifesaver. Another thing that people don't always consider is, of course, grip. I have to bring up the grip question with your stiff-legged deadlifts, and this is something that I wish I was put on to sooner. Is the effect of training mixed grip long term. So when you're doing a deadlift of any sort, you can do double overhand, you can do hook grip, you grab like that, or you can do like a mixed grip, right? So back in the day, I always used to do mixed grip, and even then, I was aware that it might have, what's the word, like some sort of unbalanced effect right there. Video, what does it say? Sorry, I'm trying to read chat on this blurry CRT. Is it make one and sprint? Oh, with a spear? All right, yeah. I'll humor you. Let's see. Put down the crafting table. See what happens if we do that. It's like you stab yourself with the spear. That'd be funny. All right, made a spear. Let's see what happens. Sprint. I don't know if I see anything. What happens? Oh, what? It's a invisible stab. Do you do like a lunge or something? It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. It's like being a caveman. But oh, what was I saying? Oh yeah, the grip thing. Training mixed grip for a long time. This can actually encourage muscle imbalances, duh. Uh, but what it can also do, let's see, should I set up a, there's coal up there. I think I'll set up somewhere near that mountain where there's coal. That way I actually have torches, bullcrap like that. I can do stuff during the night instead of dying. Um, but yeah, so I trained that for a long time, and it's like, oh, that's why my left arm is bigger than my right, even though I'm right-handed, right? Partially, that's like, kind of part of the equation. But if you have a side which is underhand, that's going to compress your rib cage and your spine differently than the side that's overhand. You can imagine if you have the overhand side, it's a little bit easier to shrug this shoulder up than the underhand side. The underhand side is going to tend to want to compress that way. So if you had that mixed grip going on the whole time, dang, I need like animals. I'm hungry. If you had that mixed grip going on the whole time, you're going to alter your rib cage structure, sort of. So it's like you'll find that over time, one side will become more extended and the other side will become more pinched down and contracted. And this really shows up in your pressing, believe it or not. If you have one side of your rib cage that is like kind of like this, the other one's like this. I'm exaggerating. Most of the time, it's not that visible. But if you have that, you're gonna you're gonna feel it on pressing. You're gonna feel a little bit of clickiness in your shoulder. Maybe you connect really well with one lat over the other, which is not exactly the best thing ever, right? We kind of want in a bodybuilding context or even in a general wellness context, you want to be fairly even on both sides. Now there's a healthy level of uneven. You can't fully get rid of the fact that you're right hand dominant, for example. And if you're right hand dominant, what not a lot of people know is that you have tends to be a little slightly more nerves on that side of the body. And you have a different what's known as an innervation ratio. So what that means is, okay, let's talk about motor units. A motor unit is a neuron and every muscle fiber it connects to, essentially, right? So a higher innervation ratio means there's more nerves relative to the amount of muscle fibers they control, right? What that allows you to do is have fine, precise control of whatever you're doing. So if you're riding, for example, you need finer motor control and you need a higher innervation ratio to facilitate the task of riding. But say for punching does not require as much finesse as writing cursive, right? So just due to that simple fact, you're gonna have some sort of imbalance when it comes to your left and right side, and this applies to the legs as well. This is why your pelvis shifting during something like a stiff-legged deadlift can be really detrimental. It makes it really easy to tweak an adductor. So you have to be very aware of your pelvis and rib cage positioning if you want to get a lot out of your hinges long term. And neglecting this it's really just going to bite you in the butt if you're not careful. So be wary of that. What does that say? What is it? Hold down left click. Oh, okay. I got you. I'll do that in a second. Yeah, you gotta be wary of that junk. Like shifting the hips and whatnot. I'll tell you what though, for me, since I have, those longer femurs we talked about, I'm making a stone spear. I'll get rid of the other one, I guess. But that can, the adductor machine where you're closing your knees together, can very easily, make you tweak an adductor. It is absolutely not fun. I'll tell you that right now. I've done that probably 6 times. And that's just a load management issue. It's just like, oh, me being a little bit greedy with how much you can do in the adductor, right? It's like, no, like I could do that amount of weight. It's just the adaptations in the range of motion makes it a little bit difficult to actually get to those ranges of motion in a way that's accessible and not, detrimental long term. Let's see. Uh, let's see. How do I get better at push-ups? I can barely do like 7. Okay. So that's a great conversation. Getting better at push-ups. So this is kind of like one of the first goals I feel like a lot of dudes have is like, oh dude, I want to I want to get some push-ups going on. You know what I'm saying? So look, once you put that furnace next to that crafting table, that's a home right there, bro. I don't care what you say. Uh, but getting better at push-ups, there's a lot of interesting stuff that's come from that actually. So you can, where's a door? There's a door. Uh, this is terrible. It's absolutely positively awful. This house. Um, hold up. There we go. Look at that. Amazing. Can we? Nope. Oh my gosh, bro. Brosquito. I just need a door, bro. I'm gonna have a conniption. Yes. Okay. All right. There's this thing back in the day called the Russian push-up program that was majorly popular, and I don't know the specifics of it at present, but it was something along the lines of you would have a set amount of push-ups that you would test out your max push-up. So let's say it was 7. You would do like a ton of sub-max efforts until like throughout like a week, I think it was. So like you would do, I don't know, it'd be like 2 push-ups here, 3 push-ups there, but this would be like essentially every hour on the hour or close to it. You know what I'm saying? And the idea was is like, oh, this could add, an inch on your arms and an inch on your chest within, just a matter of a week, which is pretty wild to think about. Um, but I remember there's this YouTube channel called The Modern Rogue with Brian Brushwood that I used to watch a lot as a kid, and they did that. And what that is, get you some inflammation there, but your maximum amount of push-ups, which is what they tested, went up pretty significantly. Um, let's see. The what's the word? The best way to increase push-ups though is very similar. You want to take advantage of something called the grease the groove effect. So if we're just talking about how many push-ups we can do, one of the best ways is to do more push-ups throughout the day, right? Let's see if I can just make some charcoal, make some torches, and make this place beautiful. Let's see. No. How do I split a stack? I know this is painful watching Unc relearn how to play video games, but it is what it is. Let's see. Let's do that. Let's do that. But doing them throughout the day, so kind of like the Russian push-up program or whatever it was. You're literally just going to. Oh, there's coal. As soon as I start smelting that wood, let's take that out. Gosh darn it. But yeah, if you can do 7 push-ups, do sets of 2 push-ups like 10 times a day. You know what I mean? And then when that becomes mad easy, do sets of 3 push-ups 10 times a day. And 10 times a day sounds like a lot. It really is not early on. It's actually more than feasible considering how few push-ups you're actually doing. But, eventually you'll work your way up and you'll find that you'll be able to do plenty of push-ups. The other end of that equation is how strong are you on something like a bench press, right? Because if you can bench press twice your body weight, it's really not an issue to bang out, say 40 push-ups. Though if you're interested in the military, they have like their own, that's its own other thing. Like you just got to get used to the bump and grind of basic training from what I hear. Like you can come in relatively prepared, like, oh yeah, I can hit 80 push-ups in a row. It doesn't matter. They're just going to find your breaking point at some point in time. So it's just like how mentally tough are you? That's really what matters there. And low key, I think the mental toughness thing is heavily underrated in today's sort of epic science-based lifter uh mentality. Yeah, no clue how much you bench. Yeah, I mean if you don't really know how much you bench, like just try it. It's useful as like supplementing your push-ups and stuff like that. Um, type 1 diabetic. That's also something to consider. Yeah, just scroll through chat right now. Yeah. Yeah, what is it? Oh yeah, yeah, you broke the yes, Luke Birch. Okay, okay. Yes. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, for bench pressing, the Larson press plus West Side barbell rolling dumbbell tricep extension method is goated. That is that is the goated combination for getting a massive bench press. It just works wonders. Now, it's not like from a hypertrophy standpoint, growing muscle, maybe there's some better things you could be doing than like straight up bench press, depending on how you're built for it, right? But if you're just like, nah, man, I want a big raw bench, bro. Larson press and West Side barbell rolling dumbbell tricep extensions. Look them Johns up. They're goaded. That's what when I was in 10th grade, I weighed 100 and like maybe like 155 pounds of my heaviest, but I think at the time I did this, I was closer to 150. I was benching like 275, like in competition. I say in competition. It wasn't like, oh, it was a USPL sanctioned comp. It was my high school's bench competition, but like two competition standard, 275, which I thought was impressive at the time. It's not like mega crazy, but that's what got me there for that in particular. I did it for football. We had like our own little thingamajigs going on there. I remember though, I was really disappointed with my squat because I was a real big like, oh, I'm gonna go ass to grass sort of thing because I'm really cool. It's like, but in a competition, you don't necessarily have to do that. And so I was just majorly disappointed about it at the time. It's like, oh, I was a little bit high there, but it's like I really wasn't. It was just like, me being elitist about squat form and squat technique. Um, but yeah, that's another thing with bench is despite me having relatively long arms, I've always felt like my pressing has been good. And that goes back to the rib cage shape thing. It's like when you have the slightly wide the wider ISA, stuff like pressing can actually be pretty good if a couple of other factors are accounted for. Not always. It's very hard to make blanket statements in any area. Oh, well, we broke through the top right there. We will block that back up. Uh, but yeah, it's very hard to make any sort of blanket statement. And I would encourage you guys who watch the stream right now, if you're ever like blanket statements do really well on social media because most of the time creators know like, hey, these guys aren't super duper well versed in like biomechanics and whatnot. So we try and speak in more absolute terms so that you don't have to think about it as much and we don't there's only so much time in like a 30-second video. So if I'm like, the best way to increase your bench is Larson press and rolling dumbbell tricep extensions, it's like that's true in most of the cases I encounter, right? But that I know as a dude who's about to get his master's degree in freaking exercise science, like there are exceptions to the rule. I would not prescribe that for perhaps like an elite level power lifter, right? They have completely different needs, they have completely different adaptations and whatnot, so you have to take that into consideration. But just understand that like when you have a fitness influencer, although I hate that term, but you have somebody who's giving you fitness information, if they're speaking in absolutes, hopefully they're doing it just so you can understand and have like a working idea to go off, more so than they actually think it is absolutely one way or the other. Like there's very very few absolutes when it comes to exercise science. And so that's one thing that really bugs me about the field is it's so young. Like exercise science as a field is majorly young. But people want to act like we have stuff figured out. Like, bro, we don't have the important questions figured out. Like we know calorie deficit, calorie surplus. We know some of the basic mechanisms for hypertrophy and whatnot. Mechanical tension. We have some fairly decent ideas about biomechanics, although but most of the models have one flaw or another associated with them. But it's such a young field. Like if you think about it compared to other sciences, exercise science in particular has only been around uh, like in serious form since like the 70s when bodybuilding really popped off. People were like, well, wait a minute, we can use this, for medicinal purposes, and there's a lot more that can be built off of this. Like that's when it really started to be taken more seriously as a field of science. So it's relatively young. I mean, we're only talking about like 56 years um, at that point. Although much of exercise science is based off of a lot of the biology we have from years and years and years and years back. So, of course, grain of salt with that, but always something to consider on that realm. It's just it annoys me sometimes when what does that say? Sorry. I'm trying to keep up with the chat right there. Was it please work for the stream? No, dude. You see, you don't understand. Even though I'm like bulking right now, it's not like my butt has a lot of fat on it. I actually don't I don't store a lot of fat on my butt, so like it wouldn't jiggle. It's mostly muscle. Like I'm fairly lean. So you're just not gonna see much moving. I don't think. I think my resources will be better devoted elsewhere. You know. Yeah, it's like the classic. Dude, hit the glute spread. Almost spit my drink out. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. See, it's not easy having striated glutes. Just kidding. I have faint striations in the glutes like at present moment. Was that I just recently been working through some di- well 11 5 minutes out. Yeah, man. The new Down song. You're gonna go see him in a month, Cobra? Dude, no. What's the new Down song? I've been jamming into to Primus's new album. Old Grizz. Was it a handful of nugs? You know what I mean? I've been jamming to Old Grizz. That song is a banger. Uh, System of a Down is freaking awesome. System of a Down was the band that me and my buddies, I say the band like they're wearing like 50 of them, but a band that me and my buddies were really into in high school. Like we loved System of a Down. I still think they're great. Let's see. Like hers is there. Dude, I have to check that out. I bet it's gonna be sick. I like Down. I got into Down when I was in high school, I believe, and I was like, "What? Phil Anselmo has another band? Well, that's super sick." But yeah, no, I had to check that out. I always love finding new music. I had a dude at the gym, a younger man who, what is it? I help out a little bit with. But he was like, "Dude, like, let's do one of those blended things on Spotify where they blend your taste together." And we were like a 94% match. It was pretty funny. But he did do the meme. He was younger, um, and he was like, "So, have you heard of this band called Tool?" And I was like, "Yes, bro, I've heard of Tool." But it was fun. I'm like, "Yes, the flame hasn't died out. Like they're still youngins picking up good music." Let's see here. Sorry, I had to do this because I actually can't read all this CRT. Uh, Huge Anselmo fan. Yeah, Anselmo's great. Post my playlist. Yeah, dude. Uh, I've done that before, but I can definitely post one of my playlists. I do not want to do it right now because I'm afraid that I'll mess up OBS at this point. At this moment, so I'm trying not to do too much moving back and forth. Super Joint a few years ago. Yes, dude. Excellent. I honestly haven't gotten into Super Joint too much, but they popped up a couple times when I've been listening to like what is it, Beelzebong and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, no, they're pretty good though. From the little that I heard, I couldn't name you a song honestly off the top of my head. I just know that they. I looked at my phone for. Oh, that's a pretty good band. Haven't dived into them recently. No, that's sick. Oh, Manson album. I just recently I was showing my girl a bunch of Marilyn Manson videos. I forget how we got off on the tangent. I think she was talking about like videos that scared her as a kid, and I was showing her. I was like, dude, I remember my brother showed me the Tourniquet music video with like that creepy little doll thing, and that spooked the crap out of me. It was I could not sleep, bro, and he would torment me with it. My brother was very, very good at doing stuff like that. It's hilarious, man. Dude, I'm. Let's see. We go. Should I build it? I don't know if I want to do another mountain base. Yeah, Tourniquet is really good. Like, it might low key be my favorite Marilyn Manson song. Um, ironically enough, considering that of what I just said about my brother like scaring the pea turkey out of me with the music video and whatnot. But it's a very good song. You get to see him in concert. I did not even know he was. Oh, with Rob Zombie, dude. Now I'm mad jealous. Now I'm like extremely jealous. I freaking love me some Rob Zombie, man. I know all the memes about like him just being completely unintelligible and saying like random bullcrap. I don't care, bro. I don't. Yeah, check it out. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I reckon I'll have to. But yeah, dude, just like I like sometimes I like bad music. You know what I mean? Like Rob Zombie has a lot of bangers, but not all of his songs are bangers. And the ones that it's kind of like Red Hot Chili Peppers to me. It's like every once in a while you're listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers and you're like, yeah, this sounds like all the memes about Red Hot Chili Peppers right now, you know. And Rob Zombie's in a way he's kind of just metal RHCP if you think about it. I mean, what is it? Blood Sugar. It's not. What is it? No. Blood Sugar Sex Magic is RHCP. What's the other one? It's like something Kool Aid or whatever. But like his album names are very RHCP sounding, uh, which I find hilarious. I'm just gonna leave that right there. We're just gonna go up the mountain. I think. I actually don't. I don't know. Should I just build into the side of this? I might look at just build into the side of this. My little epic sauce base. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll probably kill some of these birch trees right here. Yeah, we'll do that. Um, yeah, yeah, we'll hit that. What is it? Lost Exorcisto. Yes, yes, yes. Devil Music Volume. That's the one I'm thinking of. There's also one where he says something about Kool Aid, but yes, Lost Exorcisto is very RHCP. It's super funny. But now I don't know why it is. I think I listen to so much metal all the time. It's like by the time I get to the gym or something like that, it's like I want to be on a different vibe sometimes. And so I will be listening to like Ween in the gym every once in a while. Just just to change it up because sometimes I get bored with it. Uh, which is like it makes me a little bit of a larper, but it's all right. I just had to have a little bit of variety. I feel like I get ADHD with music. You gotta have something changing all the time. Astro Creep 2000 songs I love. Yep. Yeah. I just love like the long. Yeah. Lunar Injection Kool Aid. Yeah. Eclipse Conspiracy. Yes, that was the one. That was the one I was thinking of. Uh, they're so long and so ridiculous. I love it. I also just think I will say one of my favorite little guilty pleasures is watching Rob Zombie's like Firefly series around Halloween. That's probably my I mean, if I had to pick like my favorite like really gory horror movies, like it's that one. It's just a perfect level of this is kind of corny, um, but it's everything that you know one of those silly horror movies should be. You know, but I like Rainn Wilson in them. I like the guy who plays the clown. Like all of it's put together in a way that I can really appreciate the aesthetic vision that he has there. You know, House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and Firefly and all that. There's even despite the schlockiness of it, despite the you know like the definite cringe moments, is like it just hits home for me like a lot. Let's move that right there, and then right there. Okay, that'll be good. Uh, yeah, King Freak. Yeah, King Freak was really good. I liked that one a lot. What was the other one that was like major Rob's? I had Rob Zombie on rotation so much. Why am I not using my sword? I'm an idiot. Um, I had him on rotation like senior year of high school, just all the time. That now remember, I think I was either in ninth or 10th grade. I remember losing my marbles when what was it? Slipknot released their Their album was it We Are Not Your Kind. I think that was the name of the album. At least they had a track on that album that was like that. And I remember like, dude, I cannot believe Slipknot released an album. And it's like that's what bands do. Graylin, like congratulations, you figured out that bands release albums. But I just thought it was really cool because I feel like going through my parents' time, bands like that releasing albums was like nothing. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, another absolute banger album coming out. It just felt like I had never had that happen in the time I had been a high schooler, or even, like throughout my life. I hadn't really been like, oh wow, a new album's coming out. But I think as soon as I had access to social media and what was going on in the world, it was like, oh wow, bands are still actively releasing music and stuff, right? Like that's cool. It feels like, oh, wow, I'm really truly a part of something, you guys. Not that I was, but other than just having it play in my still corded earbuds even then, uh like while I'm like at school, stuff like that. It just felt like super cool. Yeah, Crow Killer Blues. Yes, dude, you're just reading my mind, Cobra. Blood Milk and Sky song Weird Not Your Kind does not appear on the album. Is it an EP? Am I losing it? I gotta Google this. I gotta look this up on Google for Slipknot. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see, we are not. Yeah, no, that is the album, the Slipknot album. We Are Not Your Kind. Does it not appear on the album though? It does not, huh? Yeah, I remember liking Nero Forte, Soulwave Firth. Yeah, I got all those. Not your. That doesn't even appear on the album, huh? Where's it at? I can't even find it on Spotify right now. Did you get removed on Spotify? It's listed as an album. Huh. No shot. Or am I just messing up like the name of the song? It was a single, and they fired Chris Finn, yeah. Yes. Yeah, Nero Forte is really good. Yeah. I know maybe I'm bugging. I'm bugging. But no, Slipknot is one of those bands with like a decent amount of drama. Song released. And, I got you. I got you. Gotcha. I understand. I understand it now. Okay, this is temporary base. I will definitely actually, I say probably. I'm definitely gonna go back and make a prettier base. One of my favorite things about Minecraft is like actually making a pretty base. It's like, dude, you don't just like the combat. Like I actually like making my base look good, and this is like killing me right now. Because I picked an awful spot. Alright, let's go right here. Recraft my freaking pickaxe. Yeah, that'll work. That'll do, donkey. Since it's getting nighttime again. Boop, boop. 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 Yeah, I'll just make this ugly. I'll just let this be ugly. Have this little patio out here. Do whatever. And come back to it at a later date. It's a little bit weird because I can see myself over in the corner on the CRT doing everything with just a slight delay. So see it at the corner of my eye, and I'm like, what? It's kind of like when you have feedback in your ears of your own voice talking to you. And you're like getting speech jammed, like a speech jammer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Standalone single. Oh, because they didn't want to credit. They didn't want to credit Chris. No way. Oh, you gotta run. See you later, Cobra. Good seeing you. Ever watch JoJo's? Yeah, I watched JoJo's. What is it? My buddies put me onto it. I will admit, I did stop after. I think it was Jotaro. So I don't know. I don't know. It was just like I just never picked it back up after that. I've heard that the other seasons after that are good, so maybe I'm missing out. But I really like the art style of JoJo's. I really appreciate that. I like the drawing of masculine physiques. That really appeals to me. Low key, and this is a little bit funny, but I like to like when I draw, that was like the thing I studied for so long, because I was like, I really want to get good at drawing. I gotta be good at anatomy if I want to, be good at drawing. And so I would just like study like how to draw like buff dudes, like comic book characters when I was a kid. Um, and so like that's the one thing I feel like I can draw super well, especially since I went through college learning about anatomy and all that sort of stuff, even after the fact. So that's one thing I've always appreciated about JoJo's. It's like this over the top, over the top, like anatomy pictures of these buff dudes, and I like the what was it, the hatching that they have, and just the overall feel of the art style feels really good to me. I like that. It's different. It's almost like when I watch other animes, like I'm missing that component to it sometimes. But that's also why I like stuff like Baki. It's because they do a similar thing that makes it cool. I feel like some animes I've watched are like very lazy on that component, and I understand that's a stylistic choice, and so I don't necessarily fault them for it. But of course, it does reduce the intrigue for me. Um, it's kind of like when you what's a good example of this? It's like it's like the difference between Dark Knight Rises Batman and then like classic Batman and like one of those like bluer looking suits, right? It's like I understand this interpretation of Batman, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that him being in a silly little blue suit is not that awesome for me, and I think that's why I didn't necessarily gravitate towards the later seasons of JoJo's, because they were that a little bit more. Like he had like the sort of more effeminate type things where I was just like, it's just not. Plus, they set up the whole thing with Hamon, and then they just kind of got rid of it, and I was like, okay, I like the stand thing, like it's pretty cool, but like now there's no more like these epic battle scenes in the same way. But I do like all the music references. All the music references are really sick. So that's like mad cool. But yeah, I don't know. It was just like they changed it up, and then it bothered me a little bit. But I know it's probably peak, and I just need to go back and rewatch it. And I'm just literally making excuses for not finishing the show. But I don't know. It still appeals to me. I'll probably still wind up watching it at some point in time. But it was just one of those moments where it was like, oh man, it's different, and now it's like really different now that Jotaro's gone or whatever, and you don't have the whole that sort of plot going on. And then from I've just seen so many clips from like later seasons and whatnot that I would be a little bit remiss to visit it off the bat. See what chat's saying. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, that's what everybody tells me. It gets good after part 3. Yeah, muscular twinks. Hashtag me. But yeah, no, the music references are peak, and that's what I love. I love that they're kind of clever about it too. Um, what's up, Zach? I see you join. A little bit of craft, a little bit of mining. Um, but no, that was the thing. One of the things that really appealed to me as a little bit kid was the idea that like getting like a bodybuilder was, how do I put this? Like it was almost like you had to go under some sort of like mythical trial in a way, kind of like in JoJo's when he's getting the power of Homo, but it was like you have to, you had to be like Arnold, and you have to do his crazy freaking workouts, and then if you just do it long enough, like you will look like Arnold. And I remember literally thinking that as a kid, and it being such just a huge source of motivation for me. So like, oh, it's so simple, dude. It's actually just so simple. You just you just do what he does, and you'll look like him. And there's a nugget of truth in that. Like you will look better, you will approach what he looks like, but there's so many more nuances to that I did not understand at the time. But that's what created this obsession, is because like I had this need to prove myself right or prove myself wrong. More likely, it's like, okay, so obviously, I can't do Tom Platz's workouts every day. Let me tell you, because I'm not like the average individual who's like, yeah, I used to work out like Arnold back in the day. It was a big source of inspiration. Like I would sit down and watch YouTube video after YouTube video and read article after article about what specific bodybuilders did. And like I didn't want like some Healthline article or some bodybuilding forum article that was just like lying, like for marketing. You know what I mean? Like Tom Platz actually did this. Like no, I was watching the videos where like they said it like out their mouth and comparing that with what I saw in video, uh, to see precisely what they did. And I would literally spend a week or so like doing this, and then I would go and implement it to its fullest capacity and as much as possible. Eventually, I learned like, hey, maybe I can taper up to this workload instead of putting it all on myself like immediately, and they like gave me better results. But like, I was doing crazy stuff by the end of that. Like, I was trying to Frankenstein together like the best parts of all of these famous bodybuilders' programs, and it winded up having me do some insane stuff. Like, I used to call them moon sets because yeah, it was something I invented out of like the principles. I was like, okay, we're gonna combine the high intensity of Dorian Yates, and we're gonna combine the high volume of Tom Platz, and it's just gonna be the perfect workout because it's kind of the best of both worlds. So this is what I did. I would get under the barbell. I have my little logbook. It's not the same leather bound one I use nowadays, but it was I used to use these miniature composition notebooks, and I have one of them, but I think I lost the OG, unfortunately. The Book o' Gaines is what I titled it. And then I titled the second one, the Book o' Gaines New Testament. But I would so this is what a moon set consisted of. I would do this only for barbell squat, barbell bench, and I would do this for leg extensions and hamstring curls too, and also deadlifts. But not every exercise. I would usually pick, you know, sometimes I do two exercises like this, but you would do a set where you work up to a 1 to 3 rep max. So the way I had it scheduled out was you would undulate. So one day would be a 1 rep max, and then you would do a 2 rep max, and then you would do a 3 rep max to start off with. Okay. And then as quick as possible, you would drop 5 to 10 pounds, whatever you feel like you could muster, and do an AMRAP with that. Now, if you started with a 1 rep max, you drop 5 to 10 pounds, you're probably going to get like 1 or 2 reps, right? You would drop 5 to 10 pounds again, as little as you were dropping as little weight as you felt you could handle, and you would do an AMRAP. And then you do that again, and you do that again. And you're getting minimal rest. Like, you're basically just you're having the time to swap the weights out, and that's it. And that's what I would do. Now, I was called that a moon set. And you stop when you reached your body weight. So I think at the time I was like 165, and my like a 3 rep max on barbell squats was something like 345. So I would do like 1 to 3 reps at 345, drop some weight, go again, go again, go again. On average, it winded up being about, shoot, I don't even know how many drops that'd be, but it was a lot of drops. So it was like this giant drop set. Okay. And then I would do 3 sets like that. So I would I would take whatever the second drop was. So if I started out at 345, and then my first drop I went down to 330, I would start at 330, and then I would do it again, and I would do 3 sets that way, and then I would do the rest of the workout, right? I mean, it was brutal. It was absolutely it was grueling, and I thought at the time like this was the game changer, guys. I cannot describe to you how sore I would be after some of these sessions, bro. Like, it was not fun, not fun in the slightest. I say not fun in the slightest. Being sore was not fun. I actually had a good time doing the moon sets because I really believed in them, and I really thought they were gonna work for me. Um, in a major way. Like, I thought legitimately that was going to get me where I needed to go. Um, Kind of couldn't have been further from the truth when it was all said and done. I mean, I'm not gonna say like it did nothing because my legs did look good during that period of time. That was actually during the period of time where like my quads were one of my most dominant body parts. But that's really just because my upper body was so small. It was kind of the Tom Platz disease where he was like, yeah, what did he say? He's like, barbell bench is not good for bench press, but barbell squats are good. It's like because you're built for squat and you're not built that well for bench press. So of course you're gonna say that, right? And I wasn't built for squat, but I still, was decent. I know the biomechanics of like why that was the way it was, but I can hash that out if we really want to, but it's kind of boring. Just talking about, well, my femur's like this and my pelvis is like this, and so that's the reason, I benefited from it decently. But I would always injure my back on squats, even still. Like, that's one thing that's why I'm so neurotic about my squatting and hinging technique, is because I have just tweaked my back and my adductors so many times throughout my lifting career. And it's like, I have to be careful. You know what I mean? If I want to stay in this game long term. Otherwise, it's, going to Snap City, right? Professionally rewrite the book of gains, dog. Yeah, part of that would just be doing the the workouts that I did back in those days. And I would love to see a video of anyone else trying a moonset, just to, I don't even like coining it that, because it's not like I made up, oh, do this crazy freaking drop set. But I would like to see somebody try it, just because I know it sucks so bad and it's so dumb. It would just be a little bit funny. But maybe one day I'll revisit it. I'd be like, all right, guys, here we go. We are doing a moon set today. The thing I invented. How old was I when I did my first? I want to say I was in ninth grade. Was I in ninth grade? I think I was in ninth grade. I would have had to have been for my first one, but it's something that kind of continued up until the beginning of 10th grade before I was like, this is stupid. What am I doing? Uh, but yeah, but I did a I don't know. I used to like hyper fixate on, and I mean when I say hyper fixate, I'm not doing saying that in like the cringe way that people use it now, where they're just like focus and they don't know another word to describe it. No, I actually mean like I would sit there hours at a time for multiple days. Like I would come home after school, I'd be working on it while I was in school, because like high school was relatively easy for me. I never really had a problem as far as that goes. Like academics came naturally to me, um, which is not a flex. I think largely that's useless. It's just a test of, can you do your work. I put way too much value on it, but like I would sit there and I would be planning out these workouts, stuff like that. I'd be on my phone, like looking up videos and articles and whatnot, researching stuff. I get my work done in class, and then boom, that's what I'm doing. Uh, I would do that and just sit there and write it down. So I remember I used to do a workout split that, it was pretty all right, but it was like a kind of a full body thing, where it was a 6 day rotation, and I had grouped body parts. I'm trying to remember how I grouped them. I had, uh, it was weird because like I kind of had, there was like three parts to each workout. So like leg day would be quads, hamstrings and adductors, and glutes and calves, or something like that. And so there was three sections you could break it up into, and depending on the day, there would be a different emphasis. So like day one of, so like version A of the leg day would be, you would do quads, then you would do hamstrings and adductors, then you would do glutes and calves. Version B would be something like, you do glutes and calves, then quads, then hamstrings and adductors, and then C would be just swapping them around into a different order again. So every single version had a chance to be first, right? And then you do the same thing for I think I did it like push pull leg style. So like the pulling muscles, so traps, lats, and then I included like biceps and forearms, and like spinal erectors and whatnot, which was complicated because I included that partially into like the deadlift sessions. And you would undulate which one of those got to go first, and same thing with the pushing. Um, so you would go like day one legs A, day two, what is it? Push A, day three, pull A, and then you would repeat it again, but you would do the B, then repeat it again, and then do the C. And so I did that, and it honestly was not terrible. I think the main problem with that was just the sheer amount of volume I was doing was unsustainable. Like these workouts would last forever, because I was, back in the day, I used to be captain drop set. I was drop setting everything. And this was mostly back when I trained in my home gym sunroom setup that I use occasionally. I would train pretty much exclusively in there because I just didn't want to be around people. But I would I would do that. I would just captain drop set everything. So like even on stuff that wasn't moon sets, like sometimes I would do a rest pause, I do a lot of rest pause training. So I mean, just like a ton of intensity techniques. And I think that's where I screwed up early on, and where a lot of you know people put their emphasis on too early is the intensity techniques. I feel like they're not useless, but they are something to kind of keep in your back pocket and use occasionally. Because if you use them too frequently, too often, it just impedes your recovery ability, and it's really hard to track progress, right? So you come in, you're definitely sore, but you come in, you're like, like last time I did, 5 reps, and then I rest paused 4, um, and then I rest paused, 3 again, right? Well, let's say you get 5 reps, you match, and then you're like, is that rest pause? Did you take the same amount of time of rest between the rest pause, and then how many of those are you doing? It just gets really complicated. It makes every set take forever. And I was hitting like, yeah, I was, I thought I was being reasonable with my volume, but you're really not. Like, I was like, oh, well, we're hitting everything. We're getting at least, around like 6 to 10 sets per body part in the week. So that's actually completely reasonable, but it's not. um, the problem was is I was what was the word? If all your volume is with those intensity techniques, that's way too much. Like you're not recovering from that. It's kind of story of my life when it comes to training is constantly being like under recovered would be the term I would use. I did not place enough value on that when I was a young dude. To say like I'm old now, but like when I was a younger dude, I did not. I was just like, yeah, that's weenie talk. That recovery stuff, it's for chumps. And then you get a real job and all that, and you're like, oh, I can't really sustain that. But then you push through it anyways because you're not a chump, and then you just start getting injured, or the workouts just aren't feeling that great, and you find that you're like regressing on stuff. And you're like, huh, this is not awesome. What could possibly be the problem here? And it's obviously that you are trying to Tom Platz it every single workout, and it's just not sustainable. Now, my intensity of effort, I train to failure on basically every set nowadays. Occasionally, on some specific exercises, I might leave a rep in the tank, but that's more so for safety and consistency reasons than it is for like uh, rep and reserve training. Generally speaking, I don't trust myself to gauge RIR accurately because I know that I'll sandbag it and lie. That's the other thing. It's like, oh, I have the capacity to train so intensely, but if I give myself the opportunity to sandbag it, I will. So I opt to just train to failure, and then when I feel that it's necessary to take that rep in reserve, I just take it. Uh, but yeah, so lesson be learned. Don't abuse intensity techniques. They're a tool. They are not a crutch you lean on. They don't make you grow more. That was the big thing back in the day is doing ultra drop sets and mechanical drop sets and all that sort of stuff was the big cheese and was gonna make you Olympian level because you're getting all this extra motor unit recruitment. They're good. I'm not dunking on them entirely. I think there's definitely cases you're limited on time, you know what I mean, or it's just fun for you to throw in a drop set here and there. Like just know the consequences of it when it comes to the entire scope you're training. The entire scope of your training. That's the thing that a lot of people get wrong is they don't think about the absolute entire scope of their training, and they just think about everything as little individual things, um, rather than having a complete holistic look at whatever they're doing. They just they'll be like me and think they'll take a concept and they will try and extrapolate it to its largest outcome. It's kind of like salt in your food. A little bit of salt in your food makes it taste good, but if you over salt the piss out of your food, it doesn't taste good. You know what I mean? It's like this is kind of salty. It's drying up my mouth. So you have to, the old adage, take it with a grain of salt. That's kind of how you have to take your training advice or any of these intensity techniques. So basically, what it boils down to is like do basic stuff and just focus on getting stronger on that over time. And can't emphasize it enough. Don't rush it. I get in the habit of trying to rush it sometimes, and it always comes back to bite me in the butt. You'll always, when you do an extra rep and you compromise just that little bit on form, you know what I mean? You do that enough times just because you like seeing the amount of reps you're doing go up. Like that's the quiet killer in the gym. Like that's what's going to get you. And you think like you think you're immune from it. You think like, nah, I just took that little rep right there. It's no big deal. No, number went up. I'm happy, right? We do want number to go up over time. That's kind of the most important metric that we use. But it's also when you, and it's not even like you're cheating either. That's the thing. It's not like you would look at the rep and you'd be like, well, that's not a cheat rep. You know what I mean? That's definitely not a cheat rep. But I think you know when you compromise on your form, like just that little bit that allows you to get that rep up, and it's okay to do that. But next session you need to go in there and you need to match it. Like you need to really match it and not compromise at all. Because if you compound all those little sort of micro adjustments that you might make to force out that last rep, you're eventually gonna wind up with a set that looks very different than the exercise that you maybe started out with, right? Um, and I'm not even saying you have to be Captain Form Police over here, but it's the consistency that matters. Um, and it matters from an accurate progression tracking standpoint, and it matters from a injury standpoint. So if you add a little bit of body English into whatever you're doing, as we call it body English. It's not cheating; it's body English. Uh, and you're unaware of it, you're actually kind of changing the resistance profile and the way the exercise works. Um, and allowing that to compound is what creates injury, because typically what we say, like if you're new to the gym, it takes you about 9-ish weeks on average to adapt to whatever you're doing in the gym neurologically, right? So that means your ability to recruit muscle fibers. So when you do that and you keep changing the task, you are less efficient at the movement, ironically, right? Because you think you're getting more efficient because number go up, yay, everyone happy, number go up, and I can write it in my logbook. But that it's semi-artificial, right? So you'll hear people talk about this, and I disagree with how they phrase it. I don't disagree with the sentiment, but you'll hear like the science-based lifter crowd say, "Oh, when you go in the gym, you don't have to force progressive overload. It's a result of the adaptations that have been made in the muscle tissue that you're able to progressive overload. So it's not something you force." I think that's a disingenuous argument, because you do kind of have to force it sometimes. It's like you might not feel like doing an extra rep, right? They're assuming that you going to failure is a given, and I never take that for granted. It's not always a given going to failure, right? You have to force the issue on that sometimes, which means that you're going to have those reps where maybe you used a little bit too much body English, like maybe you kind of force the issue on that rep a little bit too much. And this matters a lot more, like the more advanced you are in your training. If you're a beginner, like you don't even really truly need to be thinking about things this hard. But when you are forcing that issue, you kind of are forcing progressive overload in a way. There is a psychological component to training that cannot be understated, and doing so would be disingenuous. And I would try and not do that. But it is true that it is more like a result of what you're doing, progressive overload, than it is something that you need to think like, oh, I'm going to go into the gym and I'm going to progressive overload today, right? So what is it? You always be going live. Uh, I think I've been live like maybe like one over time. Oh, Landon's in the chat. Yo, what's up, Landon? I see you joining. We're just playing Minecraft and talking muscles and stuff like that. But yeah, like it's not it's not where was I? Lost my train of thought there for a second. But what is it? You need to progressively overload over time. That's like the most important metric, but it's something it's almost like you got to have a relationship with progressive overload. Like if you're too aggressive with it, right? If you allow the psychological component to dominate and override the actual adaptations that are being made, that's also a way for injury, right? And what's happening is if you are really, really psychologically attached to the number, like I am, right? I'm not attached to it in the same way a powerlifter is. Like a powerlifter's like, oh, of course, me big boy, me want big number, go up. Um, but like with me, it's like, no, I want to increase my reps, and then I increase my reps, and then I increase my weight, and then I increase my reps, and then I increase my weight. Like classic double progression overload, right? That's what I want, but I'm really attached to that psychologically because it's like if I'm able to do more, it's like more muscle tissue, right? Greater stimulus. Except it's not a greater stimulus, right? That's the thing you have to keep in your mind is that you progressively overload to keep the stimulus the same. So if you went into the gym last week and you could dumbbell curl 5 pounds for 10 reps, if you go in there and you dumbbell curl 5 pounds for 10 reps again, it's obviously not as hard the second time. And therefore the stimulus is less, right? Because it's not as close to failure, which is kind of the catch 22 of lifting, which is that it always has to progress in order to maintain the same magnitude of stimulus. Um, you know, to a degree, like if you do a cartwheel every day, you're not going to wake up one morning and not be able to do a cartwheel theoretically, but you have to maintain a level of effort. It's not just about the raw tonnage, it's about the effort, right? Um, so what will happen is, you'll do that 10 reps and maybe over time some atrophy will occur. And maybe you can reach some sort of baseline of like, yeah, this set of 5 pound curls for 10 reps feels about this way when I go do it on this consistent basis. Um, but the fact of the matter is the stimulus gets less and less relative to your overall strength. So you have to keep things moving forward. And I think that's what burns a lot of people out in the gym is just the fact that you can't really stagnate. Maintaining muscle is infinitely easier than growing it, right? But since we are aging at all times, if you're not growing muscle, you're kind of setting yourself up for a bit of a harder time later on in life because if it's easier to maintain, it requires like I think something like a half to a third of the effort to maintain your muscle, compared to what it takes to grow it, like the amount of effort I should say. So if you set yourself up poorly like that, it's very easy to just get in this mindset where it's like I'm constantly having to improve all the time, and it's draining. Uh, but I'd say you just have to kind of fight your demons on that because what's that? I don't know if I can repeat it on stream, but it's that one video. It's like that old Vine. Some of you guys might know what I'm talking about. Where it's like we all die, you either off yourself or get off. Do what you gonna do. It's like that sort of situation where you just gotta settle in for the long haul, and not enough people realize how long of a haul it is. Like with me, if you're keeping things natural, you can expect to peak in your 40s, perhaps, like have a peak physique well into your 40s. I don't think enough people conceive of that. They might be like overweight at 22 and be like it's over. It's like, dude, it is so far from over. Like if only you knew just how we're so back things are. If you're 22 and overweight, like slow your roll a little bit. This is more than likely a problem we can fix in less than a year in some cases. But even then, it's usually not even that. Uh, Even if it is like it's like 2 years worth of time, like it's not crazy. You never played Minecraft? That's insane, dude. Uh, yeah, Under Recovered is so real. Yeah, you gotta lock in on that. Never played Minecraft is a bit insane, but I understand. Minecraft was low key like it was glazed so hard for so long. Like when people were playing Fortnite, they were like, "You're playing Fortnite? I play a real man's game. I play Minecraft. Okay, I have taste. They were just being snobbish about Minecraft, and I was like, kind of ruined it, big dog. You kind of made it not so fun for everyone anymore. It's like no one wants to do something if you're super elitist about it. That's why I kind of it gets on my nerves when people are super elite about metal. Like I do have my moments where I'm like, dog, that's really what you listen to. Like if you listen to AJR, I'm sorry, I'm gonna clown on you for that. Doesn't mean I hate you, but like what I say that because my fiance she listens when she was much younger. She listened to the band AJR, which if you know that band, you understand. But you know, I give her crap about that every once in a while just to mess with her. But it's like, yeah, the metal elitist thing, like it's gotta stop. It's just so corny. It really it really gets on my nerves sometimes. Um, Especially when they're elite about bands that are like okay, you know what I mean? Like musically, like they're okay. They're like, yeah, all these, we need to be doing more gatekeeping. We got to gatekeep the normies from Crowbar. Crowbar is amazing. I'm not to be. I want to be clear. I did not mean to just like insinuate that Crowbar was just okay. Crowbar's amazing. Um, but it's just like, dog, if you like something, don't you want other people to enjoy it so that you're not the weirdo? I understand completely about like people larping like it's their own thing. Like, huh? I discovered Crowbar. They're super underground, and yeah, I mean, you probably haven't heard of them. So I understand like that being annoying, but I think other people liking your stuff does more good than it does harm. Like I would rather walk into a room of 20 people that had heard about Crowbar and talk with them about Crowbar stuff than walk into a room and be like, oh, what music do you like? And I'm like, I like Crowbar. Like, who is that? I think everyone's kind of had that experience if you listen to similar music as me, where it's like, oh yeah, it's just my music. I listen to the weird music, whatever, blah blah blah. Um, so I think like simultaneously we'll hate those experiences, but they'd be like, huh, this guy obviously has no taste in music. But then what you'll see is a lot of us metal guys will loop back around, because we know that like, hey, our taste in music tends to be a little bit more varied. We're a little bit more open minded to some different genres of music. But we'll loop back around to be like, huh, I've really been getting into outlaw country. And a lot of people just say that country's bad and country sucks, but it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. So we'll do that. Uh, and like LARP being a little bit of a country bro, be like, I actually do like the Highwaymen. Uh, and like do the same thing. So it's like I don't understand why a lot of metal users just get so up in arms about being Captain Metal all the time. It's like, yeah, dude, you can like we can let the 13-year-old listen to Crowbar, bro. Like they don't have to shed blood for Crowbar in order to be accepted into the metal community. You know what I mean? It's also just I understand. Also, full disclosure, I understand liking stuff before it's cool, and just the feeling that gets like, oh, I liked it before it was cool, and I'm gonna flex on all you guys. Here's my shirt from the concert on a date before you'd ever even heard the name of whatever band. You know what I mean? So I 100% don't get me wrong. I 100% get that because it's like it's just part of being human. You want your what's the word? Not flowers, but you want to be like, yeah, this is my territory over here, and you sit over there in your box, and I'm in my box, and we all are in our boxes, and it's so much fun. I think he was just have a tendency to do that. Anyways, gotta get off on a little rabbit trail there. What are you guys saying? Probably just yeah, no, play Minecraft. Is low T. It's why look, Roblox is goaded. Yeah, we saying that Minecraft's low T. Look, I think it's the way you play it, honestly. Uh Roblox can be very low T. It can literally just be like make number go up simulator. Gain 22 pounds immediately. Yeah, if you're bulking, you gotta listen to Crowbar. You also gotta listen to Candlemass and stuff like that. Highwaymen does bang. It does. Yeah, my crib is getting better, isn't it? My favorite Minecraft mob, Avery. I don't know when you joined, but I wonder if you heard me dunking on AJR. Uh, Came to your class to talk about human biology. No, no way. Make a poop tycoon. Shut up. Yeah, what class were you, Straight and Toby? What are you talking about? Was it while I was a teacher, or was it when I went to Pike and like did a seminar on that, or was it when I was working as a what was it, a not a TA, it wasn't a TA, a tutor in college, whatever. Make a poop tycoon is so funny. My favorite Minecraft mob is Tough. Um, Dang, it's basic to say Creeper, I know, but Creeper's just so cool. Um, Trying to think. What Minecraft mob do I actually like think is goated? Might just have to say Blacksmith Villager. JK. I don't really know. Boop. Put all this crap in there. Honestly need to burn those tools, bro. Yeah, I'm gonna take those. I'm gonna use these for fuel. Put the white wool in there, that in there. Put all this junk out. Yeah, that'll work. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. Yeah, I used to teach. So what is it? I did a year of teaching, then I had to quit. Not because like, oh, I got fired, but I was just like, this is not paying me enough, bro. I came in for like a day. Did you actually talk about the Yeah, she had me. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, I talked to like a health class about human anatomy and stuff like that. Which was like, it was kind of fun. It's kind of weird. I used to go to that high school, and then it was what is it? They gave me an opportunity to come back. Email my dad. Favorite animal in Minecraft. They reworked the cows. It might have been the cows. I might just have to say, I might have to say the pig. The pig. If you don't work now, what do you do full time? Working on my business right now, my coach at business. Hashtag what the stream is for. But yeah, that's doing pretty all right now. Found you on Barbarian Banter after you put up my IG, and I enjoyed the combo. Hey, yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, Barbarian Banter. That was a great time talking to Jonas and Dane. They are really rad guys. They definitely are much more of a history buff than I am. I am 100% what you would call a bug science, little science guy. I tend to see the world through more like scientific lenses, which not to be like a cringe redditor with that, but it's just like when I say that, I mean that's like how my brain works. Like a historically minded brain, like my brother or like Dane or Jonas, they just organize facts differently in their head, and so they can of course discuss history and things of that nature with a lot more accuracy, with a lot more gravitas than I could. But you know, a scientifically minded guy like me, if you teach me history in a scientific way with like concepts and whatnot, I do a lot better with it. It just takes me a little minute. uh, History at my school, like you know, like I said, I was strong academically, but history was definitely the one that gave me the most trouble. Even though my dad was a history teacher, my brother's a history teacher. Um, I don't know why. It's just like not the way my brain works. Like I'm very hashtag Bill Nye the Science Guy. Like I said, yeah, pig goaded. Yeah, fucking heard. Secret guilty pleasure song or band. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, their podcast, Barbarian Banter podcast is absolutely goaded. I love watching their stuff. I love it on long drives. At the end of my teaching, I was literally sitting in my room, like during post planning, listening to their podcast, bro, just back to back, while I had to just sit in my room and do nothing. That's the sucky part about teaching. Uh, Guilty pleasure song or band. I always say Kylie Minogue for that. Like I really like Kylie Minogue's "Can't Get You Out of My Head" is a hardcore banger. Like I really like that one. Um, is the stream frozen at the moment? Oh no, I hope the stream isn't frozen. It looks frozen on my screen. Is it frozen for you guys? Hopefully OBS didn't crash. So, hey, yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you. Oh Lord, need to make sure. Whoop. Oh, I'm checking on the stream. How's it doing? Still streaming on Insta. It says we're still streaming. It looks a bit frozen over there. Okay, it's not frozen. It's just frozen on my screen, I guess, for some reason. For a good 2 hours at least today alone. That's awesome, dude. What do you do for work, Scully? I'll just resume and see if it fixes on my screen. But what do you do for work? I love was I used to do a lot of what's the word? How did he get in here? How did he get in here? How did he get in here? Okay, hold on. I need to lock in so I don't die. Okay, he's gone. What? What? Maybe we need to make a little epic chandelier right here. Sorry, I lost track of what I was saying. Like what the heck? Um, I used to do a lot of like cutting grass and whatnot, and I would listen to podcasts and like audiobooks and all that sort of stuff and music while I was cutting grass, just to pass the time because it was a lot. Yeah, especially like once I just kind of cycle through my music, whatnot. OBS is bugging. Yeah, yeah, not what I want. Okay, not frozen. Yeah, we're all good. Yeah, but I used to do a lot of stuff like that. I love a good job where I can just pop in a podcast and mindlessly do some work. It's appealing, but it can get monotonous. You know what I'm saying? Let's craft a few more torches here. Man, I tell you what though, my brother used to play so much Minecraft as well. He's he's doing pretty good though. Oh wait, no, that's hollow. Whoopsies. He has a football game tomorrow that I hope I can catch. He's been coaching. He's been doing pretty good. He coaches offensive line and whatnot. Which when I played football, I was a linebacker, running back, and the way we used to train back in the day definitely contributed to some of my lower back problems. It was a very what's the word? Like just intense and just like do it. Don't really care too much about how you're moving as long as you're not cheating yourself out of working hard sort of thing. But it definitely boogered my back a little bit, so left quite a lot to be desired on that front. Can I don't think I can make a bed with two different colors of wool. Oh, I need three wool anyways. What am I talking about? Is there a sheep? The desire sensor. Can I find a sheep? Find an Enderman. Gosh darn it. There's a drowned. Okay. No bueno. It's traveling villager. Yeah, bro. I'm not gonna find a sheep. I'm gonna find death. That's what I'll find. Head back in here. Let's see, and we will create a perfect little space for mine right here. Yeah, I want to know if anybody used to watch Minecraft YouTubers back in the day and who their favorite one was. Because, what is it? My sister's favorite was Stampy Longnose, but mine was probably, this is kind of tough. For a while there was Sky Does Minecraft. I think there's something going on with him nowadays. I don't know. There's most of them there are. And I really like Sunday for a while. But then I think like just the way he spoke began to get on my nerves because I was watching him so much. Trying to remember who did I watch like a real. I watched a lot of Grian. That's who it was. I watched a lot of Grian and his build tutorials, stuff like that. That was always like majorly fun for me. I loved like the building aspect of just making like cool stuff in Minecraft. Let's see. Making sure I'm just going to. What happens if I refresh the Instagram page? Because now the okay, here it goes. Here it goes. Okay, yeah, that's updating now. Dealership and news job shuttle driving. Oh yeah, word up. couple channels, partially promote some guitar stuff they're gonna do. Heck yeah, get on the guitar stuff. That's gonna be awesome. Yeah, dude. Love to see that. Dye them, yeah, I can dye them. Okay. Couple different channels, one for gaming and social commentary, one for guitar content. Playing for 18 years. On course for it, made my money doing that. Dan TDM. Yeah, Dan TDM was pretty good. 18 years, man. Yeah, dude, that's amazing, dude. Yeah, if you've been playing for 18 years, you can definitely give some freaking guitar lessons, dude. Heck, that's one thing. That's one thing that I've wanted to get into at various points in my life. Is like, it would be good if I seriously sat down and learned how to play an instrument, because that is that's a major like weak point for me. Is I love talking about music, suck at making music. I can't sing a lick. I think that's partially just due to my terrible like nasal structure and whatnot. Like my nose being so crooked, and half the time not being able to breathe out of it. And what is it? My voice box, not my voice box, but like my throat is like 2.75 times larger than average. Uh, like just because like when I go to bed, like can't breathe sometimes, and so I think like the snoring has made me compensate in that sense, which is not good by any means. Uh, just like that sort of thing where you're snoring. Um, Remember my ear, nose, and throat doctor telling me that. And they were like, yeah, we can do the thing where like we put a balloon up your nose and we crack it, but the success on that, is kind of dubious as to whether or not that'll get you right. And I was like, okay, that kind of sucks. Well, what are my options? She's like, well, rhinoplasty. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I necessarily want a nose job for that. I kind of like my nose. Play the ocarina. I can play the ocarina a little bit. I can play the ocarina a little bit because I was obsessed with Legend of Zelda as a kid, and I got an ocarina. Piano one is a good one to learn because it makes you feel sophisticated. Yeah, in-house stuff. It's not fulfilling. Yeah, you can hear it in your voice. Like yeah, it's too tight. Yeah, it's exactly it. So I have to really focus. Like if I want to like not like talk super nasally, it is too tight. Like right now, for whatever reason, like my nose is a little bit stopped up, and it's like. It's terrible. But you see, like, it goes off to the side. Like, my nose does not go straight. So one of them, if I breathe in, this side collapses. That's brutal. But that definitely affects my sleep. So I had that little, like, magnet bar thing. I keep on forgetting. I keep on forgetting to order the daggum little magnet things for it. It's so terrible. But that really did help me. And so I don't know why I'm just forgetting to. I need to like hop on my phone after this is done and freaking order me another 120 pack of those dudes because they actually help my sleep so much. Just like knowing that you're not going to like aspirate in your sleep. Because what I'll do, and I hate this. If you guys have ever heard of sleep paralysis, I'm sure sleep paralysis demon. But what I do specifically is I will, especially if I take a nap in the middle of the day, right? Especially then, but I'll go to sleep, right? And I will wake up and my body is asleep and I can kind of control my breathing a little bit, but I can't talk, I can't move or anything. I'm just like awake and my body is like asleep. And every time it's terrifying, and every time I feel like I'm going to suffocate and I'm just trapped there in my own body. And eventually sometimes I've done it by like if I hold my breath, which is also scary, like hold your breath till you're passed out type of thing. If I hold my breath, I'll like wake myself up like that, and I hate doing it that way. And then other times I'll fight, the demons, and I'll like get myself to like jump awake like that. But it's so hard to do that. It's so hard. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like you're trying to like fight for air and like remind your body that like your mind is awake and it's just your body that's like your body needs to wake up and you're trying to move. And sometimes during that I'll like fall back asleep and dream that I get up and I move, but then I'll actually wake up and then it's like, oh, wasn't actually moving. But sometimes it's because like I think I'm like deprived of oxygen or something like that. I'll pass back out and like fall right back asleep, but then wake up in my own body again. And I'm like, no, I was just out of there. I just got out. I just got out. Now I'm back locked in. So terrible. That's why I try really hard to avoid taking naps during the day. I've been good for like the past 2 days avoiding that, but I mean, that's a brutal thing that happens to me every once in a while, and I absolutely hate it. What do you guys? I saw like a lot of stuff popping up in there. Yeah, piano is sick. Yeah, mental thing, dude. Heat, North Carolina. Yes. Okay, I'm not far from you. I'm in Georgia. Uh, yes, dude. Yeah, hashtag Avery hooking me up with that. That was really good. I need to see someone. I know it's terrible. It's so bad. She yeah, Avery really saved my life with those nose strips. I need to get the freaking magnets back for that, but no, it is not fun when that happens. It's completely avoidable if I just don't go to sleep in the middle of the day. But what happens is you kind of get that cycle of like getting crappy sleep, and then you're sleepy in the middle of the day, and then you go to sleep and you have one of those bouts and you can't go to sleep at night because you're afraid of it happening again, and then you just you kind of just spiral out like that. It's no bueno. Um, but yeah, the nose strips helped so much with that, like so much you would not believe. Just astronomical. Gonna like do like this. I wonder if this'll look cute. Oh, so cute. I'm planning on adding some more chests right here, so I might make this two away as well. We also need to add some. So those are oak planks. Oh wait, no, yeah. Yeah, we'll add some more accoutrement to the wall so that they're not just straight up cobblestone the entire time. You know what I mean? A little bit something, a little something more interesting to look at, whatnot. Yeah. In a genjutsu, yes, yes. That's what it feels like sometimes. But no, sleep is majorly important to just your overall functioning. When I was teaching, I went on probably a 3 or 4 month stint of getting 6 hours of sleep or less in a given night, and cannot disparage that enough. Like it is not worth it. Like you need your sleep. You need it so bad. But I had a lot of stuff I was juggling at that point. I still have a lot of stuff I'm juggling now, but it's like I quit teaching, so it's it's semi sustainable. Um, but like that period of time was so rough, dog. You need it. You need it because I was just living off of caffeine, and when you're having to deal, when you're in teaching. Okay, let me do my little teacher rant, I guess, but it's just like you deal with the most unfathomable bullcrap on a day-to-day basis. Like you think, oh yeah, I'm prepared for the day. No, you're not, bro. There's so much that's gonna go wrong that you can't even conceive. It's not all the time, but it's enough of the time to make you lose your mind. And it's always something incredibly stupid. Like it's never something that makes sense in the slightest. Like I remember I like this student, so I'll tell this story. But there's this one student that came in. Now I was in anatomy classroom. An anatomy classroom and anatomy lab does not have mercury in it because we're not a chemistry lab. Some student had brought in this styrofoam head. Okay, the styrofoam head had a mason jar like wedged into a hole in the back of it. And I didn't really think anything of it. It was just sitting in my classroom. I thought they just brought it in as like a little silly, like haha silly. I was like, oh, what's this? I didn't notice it when I had picked it up, but inside there was something inside the jar. So the jar, I come to find out the jar had a bead of mercury inside of it, and I did not know this. So I'm sitting there, I'm doing work on my desk. I'm like dead tired. This is late in the year. You know what I mean? And one of my students is like, he's a good student, generally speaking. He's like, Mr. Moon, there's some mysterious liquid inside of this jar over here. And I'm like, I'm thinking it's glue because it kind of looks like an art project. And I'm thinking, he's trying to be a little bit crass, or like a joke or whatever. And I'm like, oh no, like, don't mess with it. You know what I mean? And so I'm over there, back doing my work, kind of supervising the children. I do a few laps walking back and forth, and So eventually, the student comes back to my desk, and he's like, "Mr. Moon, look." And I look in his hands, and he's holding the mercury in his hands. And I'm like, dude, put that back where you got it immediately. Now, I was hoping, I was hoping that it was gallium. For those of you who don't know, gallium is another little metal or metalloid, something like that. That is, I think it's a metal, but it's liquid at room temperature, like mercury is, and it looks similar. Um, and I was hoping that it was just some gallium that some student had brought in or whatever. But in the back of my mind, I was like, knowing my luck, like this is mercury, bro. Like this student has mercury in his hands right now. And I mean, they used to play with it back in the day. It's not like the biggest deal, but he had a cut on his hand. It could have been kind of serious. And so I was like, oh my goodness, like why? Like why is this a thing I have to think about? Like who would have ever anticipated this? So he goes to put it back in the jar, and of course he misses, and it spills on the floor. And so, long story short, I had to use a pipette to like suck up the mercury because you can't wipe it up with a paper towel. It doesn't absorb into a paper towel. You have to use a little pipette, suck it up, get it back in there. Then there was a fan that got put down so we could air out the freaking room because you don't want to be inhaling mercury fumes. I mean, these children are already crazy as it is. I could not imagine them getting Mad Hatter's disease from mercury and then having to deal with that on top of that. Um, that would have just been brutal. So I mean, like that was one of the moments from teaching where I was just like, I mean, this is an insane asylum. You can never predict what is going to happen if you are not staring your eyeballs and not blinking at these kids. They are going to do something so outlandish. You could just never. And plus, they were disrespectful. I won't lie to you. Children were incredibly disrespectful to me all the time, and you just have to like eat that, because you're not trying to get into a power struggle with them or really even talk to them. You know what I mean? But they would be so just like overtly mean to me all the time, like for the like most menial bullcrap. Oh, W stream. Hey, thanks, man. 6 hours is technically plenty, but like it was like a little bit less than 6 hours for me. You definitely need your sleep, especially when you're put the mercury back. Like Mad Hatter disease. So Mad Hatter disease was a disease that hatters got, like from Alice in Wonderland. If you ever seen that film, um, the Mad Hatter. They used to use mercury for like some sort of lining in the hats, and eventually, dudes working with the mercury all day, putting mercury lined hats on their head and stuff, made them insane. So that's where the term like "mad as a hatter" came from. So, but yeah, that's what it was. I was like, put the mercury back, and then like no sooner had I said that, he went over. He had like to walk all the way back over to the library. He was cupping it, and I was like, "Now plop it in." It's a big mason jar too. I mean, he just like completely missed the ball on that. Oh no, did I? Uh oh. Uh oh, Spaghettios. Did I? Oh no, whoops! I just put it on the wrong tab. I thought I closed out of the stream. Uh, yeah, they are. I mean, they are stupid and they are mean. That was the thing about teaching is like all the kids are stupid and mean. Um, there I lie. There was a couple of very sweet, very smart kids where I taught. But by and large, bro, they were stupid and mean to me, bro. Like they would, and when I say stupid, I mean so stupid that it hurt. Like it just hurt my soul when they would open their mouth, bro. Like, but one of my favorite other stories from that was I had them give a presentation. So you had to pick a hormone loop. Okay, so there's this concept called negative and positive feedback loops. A negative feedback loop moves you back to homeostasis. A positive moves you away. They had to pick a negative feedback loop for hormones in the human body. This group of three girls. Okay, keep this in mind. Three girls. They go and they choose the female hypogonadal axis, right? Like hypothalamic gonadal axis or something like that. And they're doing a presentation on it. So what this the HPG axis essentially is like the female reproductive hormones, right? So think about like your menstrual cycle plus a couple of other nuances there. They just had to describe like major hormones, what they do, the organs, all that good stuff. It's really not that complicated of a project, but they drug it out for days and days and days. Um, Terrible. But they go and they have to present it to me, and I'm asking them questions about it, and they literally have what they do is they chat GPT everything, bro. Chat GPT everything. You can't stop it. And on there they have the ovaries, okay? So they have written on there the function of the ovaries, and I asked them, okay, what do the ovaries do? They can legitimately read straight off their poster. They can read right off their poster and tell me what the ovaries do. Do they do that? No, because they low key can't read. I'm teaching high school seniors. They low key can't read. These are not IEP students either. These are not individualized educational plan students either. Normal students, low key can't read, don't even have the common sense to think, hey, if he's asking about this, it's probably on our poster. And we drew a picture of it. Um, Maybe we should read our poster and figure out how to answer this tough question of, what's a function of the ovaries? I think how I phrased the question. They can't do that. Do you know what they tell me? They tell me, ain't that where you pee out of? Like the ovaries, ain't that where you pee out of? Okay. No. Yeah, like I didn't say no, I just say okay. Because I'm not telling them whether they were right or wrong off the bat, because I'm not trying to embarrass them or anything like that. But that was one of those moments where I was seriously like, there's no hope. Like the ultimate black pill. If you want to get black pilled, go teach, bro. Go teach. I was so optimistic going into teaching, bro. I was like, it can't be that bad. And then you have moments like that, and you're like, it's genuinely over. It's genuinely over if you can't look at the poster that you supposedly made, where the answer is written, and just read it to me. Ain't that where you pee out of? It just broke me. It just, it just broke me. Oh man, it's just one of those moments. Like you're gonna have stupid moments, but there's stupid moments, and there were stupid moments. You know what I mean? Uh, Man, those yeah, stupid at search. They put me in ESL because I'm English as a second language. Yeah, it is Georgia education, bro. Um, they put you in ESL. Like I had ESL student. I had an ESL student who could speak full English, bro, and then I had one that could not. And then I had one that just pretended like she couldn't. And that was really frustrating because there's this cell phone policy, like you can have cell phones out, but it's like, I need cell phones so I can translate stuff. And like, I can speak un poquito español. I was actually very good at Spanish when I was in high school. They took me straight from level 1 Spanish, like level 1 Spanish straight to level 3 so that I could complete the Spanish pathway. Um, because like number one, shout out Senor Smith, awesome, absolutely amazing. She was from the Canary Islands, hands down favorite teacher in high school, best teacher too. I learned really well in her class, but after years of being out of practice with my Spanish, it's just not as good as anymore. But like I could low key kind of communicate with this student using my rudimentary Spanish skills, and it was just frustrating because like I would need my phone to translate the assignment instructions, and then I would like use like ChatGPT or whatever to translate the assignment instructions into Spanish. Um, and then she would just like still have her phone out or whatever. And then I would talk to admin about it and be like, "Hey, is she allowed to have her phone out?" They're like, "No." And then I'd be like, "Admin says you're not allowed to have her phone out." And then I would say, "She has her phone out. I'm taking her phone." And then I would take her phone, and then she just wouldn't do her work. And I was like, I would rather her do her work, I guess, um, and kind of break that policy, because it's like you're kind of just screwed no matter what you do, is what it feels like in teaching. Every decision you make is wrong, and any problem is your fault. And that's just how people treat you. And it's like it's so not the case. It's like, can we just not have a consistent policy in place? And if I enforce a policy, can you back me up instead of like lackadaisically just being like shrugging your shoulders? Oh no, I don't know what to do about that. Like if we have procedures in place, let's please follow them so that I can do my job, or let's just not let it be a big deal. Yeah, because I personally don't think the cell phone thing is a big deal. My teachers back in high school were like, "Hey, if you're on your cell phone, cool, but like I'm not gonna repeat myself." But they make it so like you have to repeat yourself to these kids. You have to repeat yourself a million times over, and because of that, they don't value what you're saying. Um, because they know that they're gonna get spoon fed it regardless, and so they'll just do nothing until you spoon feed it to them and just make it as easy as possible. Like they've learned that, so it's not entirely their fault. It's just like education in general needs a lot of reform, and part of that is, hey, can you back up a teacher? You know what I mean? And if you did that, I feel like we'd make a lot of progress in education. But it's just what everyone's doing is they're just pushing stuff down. They are trying to cover their own butt. It's just a lot of let me cover my own butt here and just make sure I don't get in trouble. And as long as I'm not getting in trouble, I'm okay. Um, and that attitude just trickles down from admin to teacher to student. It's just not good. It's like nobody's doing what they know they ought to be doing because no one's empowered to do so. That stuff comes from the top down, really. It's just like we're doing stuff that doesn't matter to appease some sort of like a board member or whatever, I suppose. And we never like get to the heart of any sort of problem when it comes to making measure like the literacy thing. So it's like, okay, these children can't read, so we got to have literacy strategies in place. This makes sense. Can we also start failing students? No, because then graduation rate will go down. Hey, if you have a 98% graduation rate and like a 50 something literacy score, that's not a dub, bro. That just shows you're passing students along to pass them along. Uh, you know what I mean? How can we have like how can you have the basically all your students graduating and close to half or maybe three quarters of them at best can read on grade level? Doesn't sound good to me. You know what I'm saying? It's very silly. It's a clown world. Yeah. Yeah, the ovaries famously responsible for peeing. Yeah. Oh, yo, what is it? Behind icebergs. Cool profile pic. That reminds me of the thing from Elden Ring where it's like Millennia's like rot emblem, not emblem. I don't know. Yeah, I did do the Spanish DLC. I really loved Spanish back in the day, bro. It was so fun. It was mega fun. Had a good old time with her, but she what is it? Senora Smith, she taught the reason she taught so well and why I learned so much Spanish is because if you walked into her class, you were not gonna walk out not knowing Spanish. That's just how it was. uh, she didn't give you an option not to learn, and the thing is like back then they really supported uh teachers in general, really, but especially Senora Smith and her ability to teach. So she was from the Canary Islands, and she went to a military school and she learned, I think it's called like scratch and squall technique or something like that. But it's essentially you're writing and you're speaking a lot, and you teach bell to bell. Like, it's just how it is, um, and it works. It works incredibly well. And why does it work incredibly well? Because it just feels so high pressure all the time. It's like you need to answer immediately, immediately, immediately. Repito por favor. Immediatamente. That sort of thing. Uh, but it works. It works incredibly well because it is a high pressure sort of environment. But I mean, shoot, I learned it and I was enjoying it. It was like you go and you get to play like a mini game all class, essentially, of just can you survive? Can you survive Baldy's basics? Can you survive Senor Smith's class? And I loved it, dude. Um, and people always gave her flack. Like a lot of students just didn't like her because it's like she made them work, frankly. But I guess it's just part of me being a goody two shoes. But nah, she was amazing. I feel like she could teach Spanish to a rat. Like that's how good she was. She made everything make sense. She honestly did not give like much homework at all. Like she might give you a page of homework every. I maybe had 3 homework assignments from her, low key, and all of her the assignments you do in class they were due like the next day because sometimes while you were going through it'd be so quick that you couldn't get finished in time. So she would let you finish up, and turn it in the day after if it was necessary, unless you were just ticking her off and then you need to write faster. But I think that's what it is. Like when you're forced to do something really fast, you have to demonstrate a high level of competency. They might be thinking like, "No, wait a minute. If we're going through this so fast, I'm not learning." Yes, you are because other people around you are responding fast, and so you kind of what you start out doing is you start out like kind of memorizing stuff. Like you might some people might have a little bit more of a innate ability than you do. So you might start out memorizing stuff, but then eventually it's like, oh, like you kind of see the pattern, right? And so you catch up anyways. It's re- really not that hard. High school Spanish, you know what I mean? But we were. I just hate that we got caught up on time. Was the big deal? Is like we just didn't have enough time in the semester to get to what all she wanted to get to. Because like I learned quite a lot in Spanish 3, but like we did not get to an entire mood. We didn't get to the imperative mood, I believe is what it was called. But we got subjunctive and all that good stuff. Uh, there's only 3 moods in Spanish if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that was a great class. She was very funny too. I keep up with her. She's this uh she's this young woman. She's a young woman. Let's say young woman. She's very into Formula One racing, and you would not think that. You would not think that meeting this woman. You think, oh, she's very harsh. She cannot. She's very uptight. She's so not this uptight old biddy that a lot of people just wanted to make her out to be. Like she was very sweet if you got to know her. She just took her job seriously, and she had a lot of pride about her native tongue and her country, which I thought was, yeah, very awesome. I also just thought like the Canary Islands in general were kind of interesting. I don't know much about them honestly, but like the stories she used to tell about it, how she was visiting family, stuff like that. There was something about like a volcano she was talking about over there, which I don't know anything about. Again, geography, history, that sort of thing. Not my forte. I know a little bit. I know just enough to get me in trouble. Not enough to speak extemporaneously on it, but you know what I'm saying. Let's see. Get some more torches here. This is where we start the mine shaft. This is just like in Terraria when you get. What? Is that lightning outside in the game? It's crazy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. State of our schools, yeah. State of our schools. Um. No, yeah. School like I could go on all day about just the state of education in general and just how there's so many problems with it. Just from the top down. I mean, I taught 1 year, so it's kind of like, what could you really know? But I have a lot of family in education. They all say the same thing as me. I think that was the problem with me in teaching was just that I had so many people around me that were in it. I became very cynical about it off the bat. Like I was like, why are we doing this? The second you ask why are we doing this as a teacher, you've already lost the battle. You can't you can't say why are we doing this. You just have to go along to get along. Do and you honestly don't even have to do what they say, but you don't need to be that voice that's dissenting from it because long term that'll cause you issues. Um, and I stayed pretty quiet, but I would just kind of I think they kind of saw the look on my face every once in a while, being like, "Well, this is dumb. This is obviously the only reason we're doing these literacy strategies or whatever is just because we're checking a box, like calling the success criteria and learning targets, like breaking down learning targets into success criteria that you're already extrapolating from the standard anyways is kind of like useless busy work. Same thing is like when I rework my curriculum map and I pull stuff straight from the state standard and then you tell me it's outside the standard, but I just literally copy and paste it over vocabulary from the state standard. Like that's just you're just mad that I got the work done you had set for a week in an hour because I can effectively copy paste onto a Word document, which is like half of teaching. That's half your responsibility of teaching. Can you copy paste something over into a Word document effectively? Congratulations, you are now qualified, 50% qualified to be a teacher. Like that's what it is. Um, and the 25%, can you handle students being like really really mean to you? If you can do if you can do all that, you can be a teacher, and then like know your subject matter decently well, which sometimes you don't even need that. Considering how much the students know, you could you could probably walk in there with a high school education and teach students at this point. Uh, like legitimately, that's how bad it is. Yeah, go in there. Literally, if you, whatever you remember from high school, guarantee you remember more than the average high school student nowadays. I think if you did not finish high school, if you were born in the 80s and you did not finish high school, you know more than the average high school student in a low income school district. 100%. Without a doubt in my mind. You'd at least be a more useful employee. You'd at least know the value of, hey, when boss asks you to do something, it's not because he hates you. It's just because like he has a job to do. you know, that was another thing that I really loved about teaching was, anytime you have to like reprimand a student, it's because like you hate them. You hate them specifically for one reason or another. It's like, no, dude, you cannot put your like don't put your hands on that other student. You are a 6'4" man, and that is a very small little lady. Like, please don't put your hands on her. Uh, or like, excuse me, why do we have our hands like in the front of our pants, like through our underwear, like in the middle of class? Like, why are we doing that? Please stop that this instant. And then they wouldn't stop, and then they would call you a B word. And then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna go about my day, I guess. Um, because you can call admin in there for that, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's just like, well, that's really like a classroom managed behavior. And even then, what's gonna happen when you call admin is they're just gonna send them to the administration office, and they're gonna come back with a bag of chips, and they're gonna go right back to doing the same thing. So it's like, why even bother? The move is actually just to like do your best to be a sort of friend to them or like be funny to them, and then they'll be more likely to do what you say if you like inject humor into it. But that has its limits, and I wouldn't recommend honestly trying to befriend students in general just because they are malicious. They are malicious at the end of the day. They will sell you down the river for anything. For anything. Like if you what is it? If you let somebody have a cell phone out or whatever, for like they needed to call their mom, like, Mr. Moon, I desperately need to call my mom. Like it's super mega important. You're like, okay, I'll let you call your mom, man. Like whatever. Like just this once, and then another student pulls their phone's like, hey man, I gotta take that out. It's like, you let so and so have their phone out. It's like, yeah, but they asked me. You know what I mean? You didn't ask me. But then they just don't see that, and then they'll be like, excuse me, admin, Mr. Moon is letting students have cell phones out in the class. Like, I'm obviously not, dude. Like, come on, that was an emergency situation, bro. And it was practical. I don't want to disrupt class by having them, have to freaking like they stepped out in the hallway or whatever. Like that sort of stuff just happened all the time, and it was just like, dog, you can't. There's no honor among thieves. There's no just a madhouse. Madhouse. Animals running the zoo, or however you want to put it. I mean, there's a lot of moments where it was just like I always laughed a little bit because people would be getting stressed out about stuff we had to do as a teacher, and be like, okay, and I would get it done like mega quick during my planning period, and like I kind of low key have nothing to do, and then I would use that time to work on my grad school work or other stuff, but I don't know. I think it was maybe people were just like getting stressed out about really small tasks, but but I understand it though. I'm gonna say that I really do understand that because those small tasks are so dumb that like they take more mental energy. because you're already dealing with all your other bullcrap as I've just described. But then it's like, hey, can you copy and paste this stuff from various websites into a Word document for no reason? And it's just like you so badly don't want to do it that it's like it just goes so slow. So I could totally see being like 20 years into teaching and then just losing my marbles over some small crap like that because it had happened so many times. So I totally give my fellow teachers grace, but it was just kind of funny because I hadn't developed that specific sort of jadedness yet with teaching in particular. But it was also just like there's downtime when you're teaching, but not when there's students in the classroom. It's always just like downtime at these weird times, or even when you do have students. It's the second you think you have downtime as a teacher, something is about to go incredibly wrong. Um, that being said, it's like I'm not one of those guys that likes to super duper complain about their job, but teaching is very fun to just say a bunch of bullcrap about because it's just wild, just wild. Nursing's a bit similar in that I think a lot of people like to talk about, oh, being a nurse is, all these crazy stuff happens. So I think it's kind of in that same vein. If you have a job and they call you a hero, you're most likely being taken advantage of in some capacity. Like that's just how it is. Whew. Man, man, oh man. Let's see. A lot of you guys in here. Is Caleb in here? Eli the Fry in here? No way. No shot. No shot. Need to find iron, bro. K or S. 11:30. Let's see here. Go back up to the top. Boop. Boop. Spawn point is set. Yeah, let's see. I reckon we might call the stream right there unless anybody has any last minute questions they want to get answered about training and whatnot. I could do. Let's see. Oh, Jimbo, hi. So, dude. Yeah, unless anybody has any questions I can help them out with, muscle building wise, I reckon I'm just gonna end the stream there. Thank you guys for joining. It was a bit of just a yap session, trying to get out some more long form content, trying to do it in an interesting, a little bit of an interesting way. Hopefully you guys like that, and maybe more in the future. Hopefully I can find a consistent time for this, for you guys, provide some value, just yap about muscle building and life in general. But I will. Like it, yeah. Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Was it Mila? Mila 299. Mila Mig 299. Hope you guys have a great one. And I will catch you guys later. Let's see. Can I? How do I do this? Is this stop?